Hello, gorgeous ones. Hope you're all okay. I've been a bit quiet on a few things of late, including the podcasting. I've been working pretty hard on the last book in the Teapot Cottage series, The Sum of All Parts, which is due out at the end of October, just in time for Christmas. It's been a really poignant book for me to write because it heralds the end of the series, the Teapot Cottage series. And that's been very close to my heart now for the last 2 years, all the way through. And tying in with that, the subject of today's podcast is evolution. And I'm going to use my work to illustrate the point that we are all in a constant state of evolution. We're constantly evolving in the ways that we think and function and work and socialize. Technology has, to a large extent, forced us to evolve in ways that may or may not feel comfortable to us, but there has been, for a long time now, a sense of having to move with the times, unquote, or risk being left behind. For example, I never knew I'd one day be a champion for older women's voices being heard, or that I'd be using podcasts and a thing called social media to do it. We're constantly adapting and adjusting, stepping into new and unfamiliar territory and sometimes gritting our teeth until it starts to become more familiar. In so many ways, in this frantic modern world, we have, even unwittingly, become the masters of adjusting to change. If you think about the many, many changes we've seen and felt across our lifetime, our evolution has been exponential. And I guess most of us have the sense that it's unstoppable. We don't know what's coming next, that we may have to adjust or adapt to. And many people are in a constant state of, bracing themselves, I guess, to try and prepare for what's coming next, even as they know they can't even imagine what it might be. It's a bonkers way to live, but here we are. So evolution then, the art of evolving and going with the flow or engineering change. I wrote No Small Change, the first book in the Teapot Cottage series of novels, as a standalone book. At the time, I was still lurching my way through the menopause and casting around for something interesting to read, some light-hearted fiction that would allow me to escape for a while into a different place. Which fiction, if it's nicely written, offers to all of us who want some time out. I've been a reader all my life, since even before I started school, and escaping into a good book has always been one of my greatest joys. But I couldn't find much out there. There didn't seem to be a lot of nice, light-hearted or inspiring fiction on offer for women of my age. I didn't want to read self-help books or non-fiction, or fiction aimed at someone 30 years younger than myself. I wanted something I could curl up with and be cozy with and be transported by to a different place for a while. A form of running away from home, if you will. I didn't need to run away from anything. I just wanted something different to focus on for a little while. So in the absence of finding a good book, I decided to write one. I wrote about a 50-something woman called Adi Bostock, who had suffered some trauma in the form of her marriage and family falling apart after a few unhappy secrets came to light. And she was dealing with a difficult menopause. She was faced with the very daunting prospect of having to try and pull her life back together, with no clue how to do it or even where to start, at the same time as genuinely wondering if her hormonal dysfunction was going to finish her off. Adi took me on quite a journey, and by the end of the novel, she was in a better place, and I liked the way her journey had unfolded. When she and I started out together at the beginning of the book, I had no idea what the ending was going to be. I write in a very different style to a lot of other people. My work is in no way formulaic. I don't have a framework or even a clear idea of how a story I've started is actually going to end. But I think that's where the magic is for me. I think that's where my greatest joy comes from. The way I write a book is very much how I feel when I'm reading one. I begin on page 1 and I end up on page 327, having had a journey I never expected to go on. I start out and let the stories unfold the way they want to, and there are always so many delightful surprises along the way as the characters develop their own momentum. Sometimes I get to the point where I feel like I'm running along behind them trying to catch them up. It's a wonderful feeling to be scooting along and finding a corner to turn, a different road to go down, and seeing where we end up. One of the stories that surprised me the most was a character in the book called The Choice Between Safe and Brave, which is book 6 in the series, with a character who started out, in my mind, as more or less incidental. She's Adie's daughter, actually, in the book, and I wanted to give a nod to her as the storyline started to take embryonic shape in my mind. But it was literally no time at all after I'd created her when she turned around and told me, actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a much bigger voice in this story, and I want to do this and go there and do that. Well, okay then, I said, and off we went. And in terms of character development, that was one of the most delightful writing experiences of my life. Tassie Bostock became one of my main protagonists, and she turned out to be utterly delightful. And that's how it goes sometimes. It keeps my work fresh and interesting, sometimes downright hilarious, and always inspiring. With Tassie, I was thinking about what to have her doing career-wise, but she ended up telling me, and it formed the basis of the title. She was faced with the choice between having a safe life or a brave one. My hair was literally standing on end by the time we'd sorted all that out. But going back to the first book, No Small Change, and how it evolved into a series in the first place, Adie left me feeling at the end of her story that she still had a lot more to say. It didn't seem right to just leave her where she was and go off and think about something different to write about. I had the distinct impression that there was a lot more I could do with her and the other characters that had come to life so well they literally leapt off the pages at me. So the Teapot Cottage series was born, and I've had the most delightful time over the past couple of years bringing the characters to life in my own heart and in the hearts of many readers. I've often been told that I need to say more about them, and many of my readers have told me that certain characters have really resonated with them. I created a kinder and more gentle world where matriarchal voices are heard and valued, and it seems I've reached a lot of hearts. But, and this is where I'm coming to with this podcast, nothing stays static. Just as people evolve in real life, characters need to evolve too. Throughout the TC series, I've developed the main characters, and many of them have gone on to make important changes in their lives. The Sum of All Parts, as the final book in the series, is a powerful reminder that while we must treasure what's good in our lives and focus on valuing people and relationships that enrich and encourage us, we also have to keep moving forward and adapting to change. As Adie is often fond of saying throughout the series when she's talking to other characters, many of whom have arrived at Teapot Cottage in crisis, she says, life pushes us forward whether we want it to or not. And it's when we kick against the process that we start having problems. And this is my message to you, and I'm going to repeat it. Life pushes us forward whether we want it to or not. And it's when we kick against the process that we start to have problems. Even as a character, Adie knows that nothing stays static. Life doesn't allow for that. All kinds of unexpected things happen to all of us, don't they? Yeah. And so it is with this character herself. I realized as I came to the end of book 6 in the series, The Choice Between Safe and Brave, that I had to think about taking Adie in a new direction. I have to practice what I preach, and this woman got to a point in her life where it was rich and meaningful, but as a woman in her early 60s, she still has a lot of life to live. And in keeping her where she was, on Ravensdown Farm, bearing witness to tenants in crisis at her holiday cottage, I was risking doing the opposite of allowing her character to evolve. I was running the risk of it devolving into something static, where her life would always be what it was. And she's far too young for that. She needs to have new opportunities to continue evolving. And that meant closing the door on the Teapot Cottage series, at least for now. I had to figure out a way of keeping this gorgeous lady fresh and using her voice in a different way, in a different setting. I also didn't want to let go of the other characters in her world that have supported and encouraged and accompanied her along the way through 7 previous books. Some of those characters mean a lot to me and to my readers, so I wanted to keep them in Adie's loop. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to them myself. As an author, I feel the responsibility of keeping my characters credible, just like people in the real world. So I had to figure out a way of keeping them in the loop, but putting a new and credible spin on what happens in their lives and how they can continue to be inspired too, even as they're in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. So a new series will start from next year, and the final Teapot Cottage novel, The Sum of All Parts, is in 3 parts. The first part allows the reader to reconnect with Adie and her friends and family at a milestone birthday and Christmas party and find out where some of those characters are in their own lives. The second part of the novel deals with a monumental catalyst that rocks the Raven family to the core and sets the stage for a re-evaluation of what's important in their lives. Through the process of coming to terms with great challenge and big change within the family, Adie realizes that there are still things she wants to do in her life, and that doing them while she still has the time and the ability start to become really important. The third part of this novel sets the stage for the new direction for our lovely heart-centered matriarch. Adie doesn't leave her family or anyone in it, but she does find a new direction, and I'm really excited about how this pans out. In the new series, she goes on to become an even greater inspiration to older women, and the great news is that many of the characters we've come to know and love in the Teapot Cottage series will be making appearances along the way. The Torley town matriarchs in particular will be the focus of the new series, which will hopefully inspire women of a certain age, unquote, to realise their dreams, use their voices to share their wisdom and experience of the world. Adie inspires her friends, and my hope is that those friends and what they all do in the new series will inspire readers to find their courage too and do the same or similar things. Because we might be getting old, but we are still of value, and we do still deserve respect for what we know and what we've endured and survived, and for what we can bring to the table of life. And we don't deserve to be ignored, silenced, or made to feel like we're no longer relevant in society. It's important that we allow ourselves to evolve. We're not meant to stay static, because what Adie keeps saying is absolutely right. Life pushes us forward, whether we want it to or not. But it's also important that we understand and appreciate that we're not just sitting targets in a world that fails to appreciate us. We have choices. We have the ability to shape our direction. A lot of women are choosing to go into business in later life to be free of the grind of working for and with people who don't appreciate them. Many older women are stepping into new roles, taking new opportunities, and creating new lives for themselves. They're making conscious, active choices to control and shape what they can control and shape within their lives. They're not staying static. They've figured out that life is pushing them forward, but they've also figured out that they have some say in the direction of that. And here's the thing, we all do. I chose to become an author of fiction novels at 63 years old. Novels that sought to reach out to older women and offer them something gentle and positive and hopefully inspiring. I discovered the joy of taking myself off to a different world and enjoying what I created there. It is my hope that you have enjoyed that world too, or that you will if you haven't already. The Teapot Cottage stories are stories of love, hope, and recovery from life-changing trauma with the help of a little bit of magic. The shiniest nugget that's come out of all of them is Adie's new direction and the opportunity for her to continue to delight and inspire people as she dances gently through a new and enchanting chapter in her life. I'm not sure yet whether it will be a long or short chapter, but there will be adventure. There will be the typical highs and lows that life constantly chucks at us all that she will have to navigate. And the wonderful, wise, insightful, and important voices of the other matriarchs of Torley will still shine through too, just like they always have. The new series will also be aimed primarily at older women, but with stories that will resonate for both genders and all ages. Adie and I are going to have some new adventures. It will be fabulous to have you along for the ride. In the meantime, keep your eyes peeled for the Sum of All Parts, which is due out at the end of October, just in time for Christmas. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel here and get the lowdown on what's going on in the world of Annie Cook Writer. And keep talking and keep making your feelings known and your voice heard, because you are important. What you have to say is important. What you want to do with your life is important. Keep evolving, darling. It's what you were born to do. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.